It is Father's Day weekend. I have the perfect guest for this particular holiday. Jimmy Burrow, father of Joe, Jimmy Chase, father of Jamar, two buddies who were at Bengals practice recently and are kind enough to join us on the podcast. I want to start by asking each of you guys this question. When did you first know that your son was different from the other kids athletically? Jimmy Burrow, why don't you go first?
Well, third, fourth, fifth grade, he was, we're in a small town, so he was the best athlete in his age group. So, but as I said, there's not many people here, so you kind of take that with a grain of salt. And then as he started playing baseball, basketball, and football, just started having a lot of success, and he would hit home runs and score a lot of points in basketball. So it was just probably just several things, but really football, 10th grade is when I realized that he could really have some opportunities to play Division I football.
Jimmy Chase, how about you?
I want to say it started around 7, 8, 9 years old. He's playing basketball, and this is his first year playing basketball. And all the other kids had been on the team already, and he was the newest one on the team. So they put him on a team with the guys that wasn't that good, okay? And it was like 1 against 5. Jamal just took it to the whole team, and I was like, wow, this little boy is crazy. And then every year, it just happened over and over again.
We've all heard stories about dads training their kids at an early age, sometimes excessively so. What did each of you guys do to aid in your son's development? Jimmy Chase, how about you go first on this one?
Well, I had Jamal on a rigorous workout at an early age, okay? He was doing push-ups. Every time I got in trouble, I made him do push-ups. And, I think that developed his work ethic over the years, because I always had him training. I always had him working out. I always had him doing something to sharpen up his craft at an early age.
Jimmy Burrow.
Well, he played so many different sports, I guess. We were just as a parent, we were there, being positive and supporting him. Certainly, as he got older, we would watch some film here and there. A lot of times when I was coaching, I couldn't watch his a lot of his early age football games, whether it was third, fourth grade, and we'd sit down and watch it, kind of have fun with it. I didn't grind him and say, hey, Monday night at 8:00, we're going to watch film or something like that. We just kind of did it periodically. And the good thing about Joe, and I think Jamar is the same way, is they love practicing. Mm-hmm. And so you don't really have to, as they grew up probably, and Joe for sure, I'm sure Jamar, that you didn't have to encourage them, hey, you got to go to practice today. I mean, they wanted to go to practice. They wanted to get better, and they wanted to hang out with the friends. And so that all added up to just being there for Joe and when he needed us.
How insanely competitive were they as kids? And here's a key question. When you played against them, whether it was a board game, whether it was shooting free throws, whatever, did you let them win? Jimmy Burrow, you go first.
Not really, but it didn't take long for me not to have a choice in those type things. But that was the one thing I guess I saw at an early age, how competitive he was. He wasn't a very good loser. You try to teach sportsmanship, but I think he respected his opponents and their coaches, but he was a terrible loser and really still is, and that's just part of his competitive fire. But he had teammates and friends like that too. So that was good for his whole early stages in athletics.
Did you let Jamar win?
Oh, I try not to. Okay. He has a real serious competitive edge, right? Jamar used to cry when he lose, right? He used to blow a gasket, and I used to have to kind of like control that, because if he's losing or he's behind, he gets so furious, he starts crying and he goes bananas. So I had to like curtail that at an early age. That was my biggest thing. Like calm down, catch your breath, take your time. He was delirious, right? But we never played games together because number one, he didn't want me to beat him. And then number two, I didn't want him to beat me. You know, I asked him to show me how to play the PlayStation game. And he said, you press the A button and you press the B button, right? But they had more buttons on there. And I'm like, you pressing all them buttons. Why you know, so like we couldn't play together because he didn't want to lose to me and I didn't want to lose to him.
So your sons arrived at LSU together or at the same time, basically, in 2018. Jamar was a freshman. Joe was a transfer from Ohio State. Do you remember hearing your son talk about the other dad's son for the first time? And what did they say? Jimmy Chase, you go first.
Well, I told Joe got there before us, right? And I told Jamar, they got this quarterback named Joe Burrow. He's coming down. He's like, "Dad, I don't know that dude. I don't want to go there." You know. So like, he didn't really talk about Joe. He didn't know much about Joe. You know, and it didn't happen until they got there, till he got there with him. But prior to that, wasn't really concerned about Joe.
When did Joe start telling you about Jamar?
Well, I mean, as soon as practice really started, when Jamar was there, I mean, he knew he had Jamar. He said, I got some special guys at receiver. It's just a matter of, you know, getting us all together. And he said Jamar, I think, was a freshman, so it took him a while to really gel and come together. But then after that first year in the summer, Joe, he just said that he had a chance to, and his teammates and his team had a real chance to be special. And he always knew, you know, Jamar was, once they started working together, that they had a bond that it's just hard to explain, and it's hard to get that bond with a quarterback and a receiver. But they had it fairly quickly, and you know, it's fun to watch, and it gets better every year. It's pretty amazing.
So the following year, LSU might have been the greatest team in college football history. They go 15-0. Joe wins the Heisman, throws 60 touchdown passes. Jamar wins the Biletnikoff Award. He catches 20 touchdowns that season. What was that like for you two guys as parents? Joe Burrow, or Jimmy Burrow, rather. You go first.
Well, it was, you know, it was a lot. I mean, there was a lot going on. We're trying to interview agents. You know, I interviewed 14. Robin and I here in Athens. We're going to all the games. I had retired, so that made it easy for me to get to the games. Robin was still working, but she had gone to all of them anyway. So it was just an exciting time to be a part of it. And Dan, you said might be the greatest team. It is the greatest team that's ever been. So
there you go.
that's you'd have trouble convincing Jimmy Chase and I otherwise. But just to watch that team grow, it's really the first team, and I coached for many years and watched a lot of teams. It's the first team that I ever saw that literally got better every game. I mean, the second game they were better than the first. The national championship, they were just better as a team, and that's offense and defense. So combine all that with all the awards. You know, we had Baton Rouge LSU tailgates are the best. You know, the Chases have so much going on. Being from New Orleans, we didn't really get that close until really we got here. But we were good friends there and tried to spend time. But those tailgates are just unbelievable. And we have our own now, and the Chases are a part of it, and we really become close as a family.
What was 2019 like for the Chase family?
It was crazy and it was amazing at the same time. You know, like Jimmy said, you know, the tailgate started it off. That was an all-day event. But then we would go to the games, and then the games would be like crazy, right? We would see Jimmy and Robin at the game. They would be on one end of the row or in front of us. And as soon as Joe throws Jamar a touchdown, they turn around and scream and holler. Sometimes we would sit next to each other, but we were so into our own kids at the same time. You know, it was crazy. But, you know, that year, the practices were better than the games, right? The practices, right? I'm like, Joe won me over in practice because every time a fight broke out, Joe was in the middle of the fight. Okay. And I'm like, man, this dude is not regular. You know what I'm saying? But because we had a good defense that year. Yeah. And the defense, they were hard nosed, and Joe was going toe to toe with them. But, you know, that year was so crazy. And, you know, every year, like Jimmy said, every game it got better and better, right? So when Jamar started taking off, you know, everybody was getting excited. And I just told my wife, I'm like, you don't understand what's going on right now. Like, this dude is playing on a big stage, like in a national championship game, and kind of like leading the team. And, you know, it's like, this is awesome, you know? So it really like took off. It was they were the best college team ever, you know? They are.
Back at LSU, you know, I started when we'd see each other, and he may be, again, like he said, 5 rows from us or whatever. And he'd say, what do you think? And I'd say, we got to have 3 today from Jamar or 2. And he'd either agree with me or he'd add 1 a lot. So we kind of still do that. And you know, again, that relationship between Joe and Jamar, I'll give you another example. After the national championship game, you know, they snap the ball, Joe has the ball. And later that night, because that ball is pretty valuable, national championship ball. And I said, hey, Joe, where's that ball? I want to take it home with us and stuff. And he said, I gave it to Jamar. And I said, you what? Gave it to Jamar. I said, you know, your dad might have liked that. And he said, Dad, Jamar had like 150 yards passing yards that day or something. He deserves that ball. So that's just, again, how those 2 guys roll together.
Yeah, I have that ball. Okay.
I figured we have so many things that a lot of times our sons they get so many different things that, you know, winning is still the most important. So we do get a lot of things that maybe they either don't have room for in their houses,
right.
Or choose to not display it. But we'll take care of that.
So one of the happiest moments of my life as a sports fan was the semifinal game against Oklahoma, because at that point, we know that the Bengals have the #1 pick in the NFL draft. Joe goes out and throws 7 touchdown passes in the first half. Jamar was completely unstoppable. Now, we didn't know that we would get Jamar at that point, but that was kind of my favorite Joe and Jamar college story. Do you guys have a favorite moment, a favorite game, something that's etched in your memory from the connection between your 2 sons at the college level? Jimmy Burrow, you go first.
I think for me, it's still the national championship. You know, Joe had lost a tough state championship game his senior year. And so that was always on his mind to win a championship. And then, you know, we got behind fairly quickly to Clemson. So we're going, oh no, this could be a problem. But just the way they came back and dominated, and to see all those guys on the stage, you know, that's about as proud as a parent could get, to know, 1, they're undefeated, and 2, they just won the national championship and accomplished really why he went to LSU was to have a chance to win that national championship. So that was pretty incredible.
You have a moment, Jimmy Chase?
Yeah, I'll say it was the national championship game too, because like Jamar has never won a championship in football. He lost the state championship in high school to Clyde Edward-Hilaire. I'm still mad about that. Okay. But that was his teammate. But we lost the high school championship, and that was his first real championship. He didn't win anything in park ball and football. Jamar was a basketball player. So anyway, in the national championship game, I was like, Joe has the confidence to keep going to him in this big game. You know, it was because like Jimmy said, we was behind and we had to come back from behind, and Joe was going to Jamar. Now nobody else seeing this, but this is when I'm like, y'all don't understand what's going. Joe must really believe in this dude if he's throwing, because Joe is not going to throw you the ball if he don't have confidence in me. I'm gonna tell you that. All right. So Joe Burrow is throwing Jamar the ball. And everybody's all excited and dancing and singing, you know, happy because they're winning and they catching balls. And I just sat down. I was like, this is unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? This is the national championship game, televised game for the championship. And my son is a big part of it. And yeah, that was a real proud papa moment for me.
Jimmy says, Joe, if you drop a ball or two, he's not going to throw it back to you. So you better catch them all.
That's true.
All right, let's fast forward to the 2021 draft. Jimmy Burrow, did Joe tell you, he's always been kind of coy about what he said to the Bengals. Did Joe tell you that he wanted the Bengals to select Jamar?
Yes. I think we figured that, and eventually, yes, he pretty much told us that he wanted Jamar, and he thought, well, he just knew how great a player he was, and you know, Jamar's not only a great football player on the field, he's a locker room influence too, and Joe knew how he'd fit into the culture of the Bengals and how he'd be able to interact with his teammates. So it all added up, and that's who we wanted too, Robin and I. I mean, once you see somebody do the things we saw Jamar do, you know, there's not many like him, and we needed him, and that's who Joe wanted to draft also.
Jimmy Chase, were you hoping that Jamar would be reunited with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati?
No. Okay. I was like,
too cold for those guys.
I was like, I don't know anything about Cincinnati. They're not really that good right now. So why don't we just go to South Beach, right? I could sit on the beach while Jamar and work on the team, right? But it was like a week before the draft, Jamar said, Dad, Joe texted me. And I'm like, okay. He was like, so he was all excited. Jamar is real even kill. But Joe texted him. He didn't say what he said, you know, but he said, Joe just texted me. So he had talked to Joe like once, or text with Joe once or twice that week, right? And then he told me, he said, Dad, if I get with Joe, we're going to kill. I say, look, I like Joe and everything, but Cincinnati, Jamar, I don't know about that. He's like, man, I'm just telling you, if I get with Joe, we're going to kill. So he was all excited about getting with Joe, but the draft was so crazy because they had 3 other teams that was trying to get us before Cincinnati. And, you know, Jamar was just sitting there waiting, but he knew if he got with Joe Burrow, it was going to be a different story. You know, I mean, I like Joe. I didn't like Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying?
We got with Jimmy and Talia, I think the day or two after they first got to Cincinnati, and we met up for breakfast or lunch. I can't remember. And we eased their minds about how great Cincinnati was, and the weather's not that bad, which, you know, at times they found out it is, but they had concerns, and we were there for them. And like he said, they didn't know anything about Cincinnati. We at least were right. 2.5 hours away. So we'd been there a year. So it all worked out.
Yes. No, that was like the best thing that could happen to us. And he showed me how much that I know, you know, how much I know about stuff, you know, because he likes doing that. But he proved me right. I mean, proved me wrong. And I'm happy. Now, Cincinnati is the best thing that could happen to Jamar, because it's the kind of town that's like right up his alley. He's not a rah-rah guy. He doesn't like to run the streets. He doesn't like all the hoopla. You know, he could just sit back and relax in Cincinnati and just enjoy it, you know, and be himself.
Jimmy Chase, just so you know, I grew up near Buffalo. I went to college in Syracuse, New York. Cincinnati is a tropical paradise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You did move south, at least.
I did.
Yeah.
Let me ask each of you about the other guy's son. Jimmy Chase, what do you admire most about Joe Burrow?
Joe is a tough competitor, right? He's a tough competitor and he's smart, right? I seen it myself. Like his last year at LSU, I used to go to all the practices, and Joe would come out of the locker room, and I would be like standing on a wall by the bicycle. Joe would always get on a bicycle before practice. I never said anything to him, but he was there. I was there. He seen me. I seen him. But it was in the Fiesta Bowl, right? Joe got cold cocked. Like he threw an interception, and he was running to go make the tackle, and the guy blindsided him. And I'm like, oh Lord, it's over for us now. The game is over. And Joe got on his knees and he got up. I said, this dude is getting up. And when he got up, he went nuts, right? and the thing that reminds me, Jamar is the same way. If you hit him, they're going to hit you back. And that's what I see in Joe. If you hit him, he's going to hit you back. He's not going to take a lick. He's not going to lay down, right? He's going to fight, scratch, and claw. And I mean, I love that. He's a tough cookie and he's real smart, right? He's real smart. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Jimmy Burrow, what do you admire about Jamar?
Well, his athleticism is just out of this world. I mean, if you see him in person, the way he's built, the way he runs, the way he jumps, I've always said he could play linebacker, he could play running back, he could play safety. If they really wanted him to be a tight end, he could line up in there. If they said,
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But that's extraordinary, and it's crazy how much good of an athlete he is. And this is kind of, I think, the way both of them roll is the one thing I admire about Jamar, and it carries to Joe too, is how hard they work and how much they like practice. I mean, those guys are out there joking around and having fun, but then when the huddle happens, they're all business, but they're willing to work. And a lot of people say, well, everything looks so easy for Jamar. Well, it's not because how athletic it is. It's how hard he works to be able to show that athleticism. So that's something that I think is very admirable about Jamar.
Another thing that a lot of people don't know is that, during the COVID year when he set out, everybody was like, what he's going to do, how he's going to look. He's been sitting for a whole year. Jamar did not sit for a whole year during the COVID year when he set out. He worked out like every day, almost twice a day. I had to really like slow him down. Like, no, Dad, I gotta do this because I didn't play, and he tried to overcompensate for not playing, and I had to slow him down because he's a gym rat, he's a gym rat.
I posted a picture of the two of you guys together at a Bengals practice recently, and Bengals fans went nuts. They loved the fact that you two guys seem to be such good buddies. Why did the two families hit it off so well?
Well, I think again, we knew that Jamar and Joe had become over the years really good friends. They're, as we've said, there's a lot of similarities in the two. They're just the way they handle things, their mannerisms when they get together. It's like a couple of old junior high classmates or something. And we also know how important each one of them is to the other. And so that creates even more of a bond. But, I grew up in Mississippi. It's not New Orleans, but it's truly the South. So I think that helps too, that, I know what the culture really is down there. My wife's been down there enough too to understand what it's like. So, that creates even more of a bond between us.
Jimmy Chase?
It's like we really like the same type of people, fun-loving people, like to have a good time, care about their kids, and just all around good people, Then we found out, I think another thing is like, we're the only ones that we can really talk to, because we experience so many similar things, and it's like, as we get into this next level and things are evolving, it's like, who are we able to turn to? So we was able to turn to them, and they helped us out a lot. And at the same time, I guess we was like a buffer for them because they were able to be relaxed and be themselves, So it
Very
just
true.
it just happened. You know what I'm saying? It just happened. And then Jimmy like oysters. Okay, so hey.
I do. Oh yeah, I like
Yeah.
them. Jimmy tells me I go to the wrong place in New Orleans though. So next time down there, I'm going to whatever he tells me to go to.
Yeah.
Did I read correctly that the two of you guys have some sort of pregame superstition involving seeing each other at the tailgate before the game begins?
We try to. I think it's a little more Robin and Talia, but we join in on that. So if we miss them at our tailgate, we try to find a way. We used to be in the stands. Now we're up in the suite area, but we've been overcome not communicating, but we'd prefer knowing that we've seen each other and been with each other, even if it's for a quick wave from across the way or something.
They was winning. The Bengals was winning, so we didn't want to do anything to stop them from winning.
That's right.
So we said, "Wait, well, the last time we won, we seen Robin and Jimmy. Let's go find them again." And it just happened like that, and yeah, it worked. Okay.
Yeah, don't mess with the mojo.
No,
On
we
behalf of
don't.
Bengals fans, don't mess with the mojo. Final thing for you two guys, and I appreciate your time. I think Bengals fans want to know, should we feel confident that Joe and Jamar are going to be NFL teammates for a long, long time? They're both nearing the point where they're going to get massive contract extensions. What do you think? Jimmy Burrow, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want. And that's other teammates too. We want them with the Bengals as long as possible. As I said, the bond that they have with each other and how each other leans on the other and relies on the other. I mean, there's no way you'd want those two not being together. And contract extensions and negotiations are complex and they take a while. And but I'm confident that those two guys will be together for really their whole careers.
Well, I definitely want them to be together, and I think Jamar does too. Because I was talking to him one time, and I was telling him, this is the NFL and this is a business also. So, you might have to go find another quarterback. He was like, "No, Dad, I'm staying with Joe. I'm not going nowhere else." So we want to be there. Hopefully everything will work out and he can be there forever or the whole time with Joe, because it's rough when you're receiving and you don't have a quarterback. Okay. We don't have time to go find quarterbacks and discover guys. We're good right where we at. Okay.
That's music to all of our ears. Fellas, I can't thank you enough for doing this today. I want to commend both of you and your wives on raising two great kids. They're obviously spectacular football players. That goes without saying, but they're polite. They're respectful. They've got great attitudes, tremendous work ethic. We are thrilled that they are Cincinnati Bengals. Thank you so much. Happy Father's Day weekend. And we look forward to seeing you on the road to the Super Bowl in 2023.
Yes, sir.
All right. Vegas, here we come. All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks.
Okay.
you, man.
Have a great day.
All right.